I know so many of my clients, they are skilled at what they do. They love their modality. They love to teach. They love to serve clients, but they hate having to market themselves online. They don't want to have to be talking about what they do, trying to quote unquote sell themselves. But I don't think that's the real problem. I don't think marketing is the problem. And I don't think it's a lack of strategy or a plan. I don't think it's that you suck at marketing or anything else. I think the problem is that you've been running on someone else's timeline. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, disconnected from your business, or just tired of trying to keep up with it all, take a breath. I'm Krista Bauer, and this is the Slow Creative Podcast. Together, we'll explore what it means to grow your business with calm, intention, and soulful design. From slow marketing to Canva and simplifying the way you work so you can spend less time marketing and more time focused on your clients, your creativity, and your craft. There is a constant hum in the world of content creation and online marketing. And it's this feeling that in order for you to be successful online, in order for you to create a sustainable income, you need to be posting more, you need to do more, you need to be everywhere, you got to be fast, you got to be visible, you got to be on constantly. And it has all of us thinking that in order to be successful and to have any growth in our business, we've always got to be chasing the next thing. This is what creates creator fatigue. This is what leaves us burnt out. This is what makes so many of the solopreneurs, myself included, people that I've talked to, feel super disconnected from their business. It has them doubting whether even this online whole entrepreneurship is even meant for them in the first place. So what happens when you can't keep up with the pace of how quickly things are changing online? What if you can't keep up with the pace of others in your niche and industry who are able to move a lot faster, produce a lot more, launch things on a more frequent basis? How are you supposed to keep up with it all? It doesn't matter whether you're a parenting coach, just trying to share your message on YouTube, trying to post videos to get word out about your work and your offerings, or you're a somatic healer or a practitioner or an artist who's posting on Instagram trying to share about your modality and your method so that you can find more of the right people who are the best fit for your work. If you're finding that the world of online business and marketing and content creation moves at a pace that is much faster than your own, a rhythm that is just not sustainable for you, so that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. We're going to be looking at and exploring the question, how do you move at your own natural rhythm and pace when everything around you is moving so damn fast online? How do you show up at a rhythm and a pace that supports your well-being and supports your creativity without feeling left behind when everybody can seem to be churning out content and doing it faster than you? So I also want to share with you how I honor my own pace and how I honor my own rhythm, how I've learned to adapt my approach so that it supports me better, it supports my creativity, and I'm not always on the brink of burnout, because I've been there plenty of times. That's why I feel like almost expert level to speak about this, because I've been in that cycle, that hustle and burnout cycle, far too long and far too many times. So I want to share with you how I do it now in a way that supports my rhythm, in a way that supports my own well-being, it supports my energy, so that you have some takeaways and some insights to help you do the same, while still being able to get your message out into the world so that your beautiful clients can find you and you can continue to do the work that you love. So here's a question to ponder. What if the real reason that you are feeling stuck and disconnected in your business has nothing to do with your marketing plan or your strategy? I know so many of my clients, they are skilled at what they do. They love their modality. They love to teach. They love to serve clients, but they hate having to market themselves online. They don't want to have to be talking about what they do, trying to quote unquote sell themselves. But I don't think that's the real problem. I don't think marketing is the problem. And I don't think it's a lack of strategy or a plan. I don't think it's that you suck at marketing or anything else. I think the problem is that you've been running on someone else's timeline. You've been trying to do it in a way that just doesn't work for you. You're meeting resistance because something is going against the grain of how you work best. It's going against the grain of how you want to market your business, how often you want to be marketing your work. So this is just one piece of the puzzle to consider, obviously. I mean, there's many reasons why things might not be working or you might be feeling stuck, but I do think that this is a significant piece to the puzzle. It's one of the reasons that I have fallen into the burnout cycle so much, trying to keep up with the rhythm and the flow of others in my niche and in my industry who have totally different life circumstances than me. For example, I don't do this anymore, or at least I try not to. I'm more aware of it. But, I was always trying to post on Instagram and be online at the same frequency and the same consistency as other coaches and creators in my niche who didn't have kids. Some of them weren't even married. They were like 20 years younger than me. They were just in a completely different season of life. And here I was trying to keep up with them, working my like 4 hours in a week, trying to churn out the same level of content, trying to launch as consistently as they were, trying to keep up with all of the trends and everything that was changing online so that I could be in everybody's feed and in the algorithm. And, they were operating at a much higher level. They had 40 hours in a week. They didn't have to end their day at a certain time because their kids were done school. They didn't have to try to manage their day around all of the things that exist in my life that make it challenging at times to show up when I want to, even when the creative flow is there. When I'm in a high energy state, from a practical standpoint, it's not always feasible for me to show up at certain times. So I was always comparing myself to other people, and I wasn't even comparing myself on a level playing field. So this was mistake number one, was trying to keep up with people who were just in a totally different season of life. And I honestly thought that's what success had to be. I thought that I had to be showing up constantly, working long hours, doing the daily grind, and trying to keep up with all of the things and to be all of the places in order to make this work. But I will tell you that in most cases, the people who are doing that, they hit a wall eventually, and they either give up on their business or they pivot completely, and they're not any happier. Even if they have all the success, operating at a level like that doesn't mean that they're happier. It doesn't mean that they're fulfilled. It doesn't mean that they show up with joy in their heart every day. Many times they're not. They're putting on this face and they're showing up because they feel like they have to too. They've bought into the idea that in order for me to be successful, I got to be showing up and I got to be everywhere. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about how I work with my own natural rhythms now, like what that looks like. It hasn't always been this way, but what it looks like, and how you can start honoring your own natural rhythms and cycles too. So by the end of this video, if you're watching on YouTube, or this podcast, if you're listening, you'll have some gentle ways that you can reimagine your own structure, your own workday. You can start to think about how you can manage your energy and how you can create space for flow again. This is so essential. Okay. And this is doing it without following anyone else's blueprint. This is tuning into your own energy. This is being aware of how things feel in your body and how your life is structured. We all have different things going on. We don't all have 24 hours in a day. Okay. Like we don't. Some of us have 3 hours to work on our business. Some of us have 20 hours. It's not a level playing field. So let's just put that out there right now. We're going to work with what we have in a way that supports us best so that we can continue to do this work for the long run. We can continue to show up and for this to be sustainable so that we don't give up in a year, that we don't throw in the towel 3 years from now and think, well, that was a waste of time. Like we can do this in a way that feels good in our body and that feels joyful and fulfilling at the same time. So the first part of this is just acknowledging the pressure that's there to keep up. Like that's real, right? We all feel this pressure whether we want to or we don't, especially if you're a highly sensitive business owner, which so many of the people who tune into my content are. It's this feeling of this constant pressure to keep up. There's this kind of like unspoken pace online that tells us if you're not producing, if you're not posting, if you're not constantly promoting something, you're falling behind. You're being left behind. And that fear of missing out is real. You start to feel it. You see other people scooting on past you and you think, well, I want to be where they're at. So you're always feeling like you've fallen behind in some way. And even though you know you can't sustain their pace, it's hard to ignore when it's everywhere. Okay, so just acknowledge that it's the environment that we're in. And how can we carve a little piece of this out for ourselves and protect our own energy? So just acknowledging that it's there. The pressure is there. The pressure is real. But how can you protect your own energy in this process? So in my case, a lot of this pressure would show up and it would look and sound like I should be posting more. I should be doing a launch like so and so. I should be doing monthly workshops and webinars. I should be working longer days, even though I don't have full day energy or the capacity and feasibility in my life because, I've got young children and things like that. I mean, all of us have different things going on. That should energy is very exhausting. It keeps pulling us away from what actually we should be doing for ourselves, like what works for us. So, just acknowledging again that we all have different capacities, we all have different family lifestyles and situations and rhythms, and we're all operating at different seasons of our own energy. Some of us have more energy during the summer months, the warmer months, where some of us just want to kick back and relax. That's not our season of flow at all. Or you might find that there are weeks where you are deeply creative, you are in a deep flow state, and you can record 3 videos in one afternoon, but then the next week you just need like this quiet space to just sit back, think, and reflect and do quieter activities in your business versus being on. So that's not inconsistency, that's just being human. So go easy on yourself, remembering that this pressure to be everywhere, we're all feeling it. How can you feel it and know it's there, but protect yourself too? So, how do you move at your own natural pace when everything around you is moving so quickly? How do you do this without feeling like you're being left behind? So, I just want to start this by saying there is a fine line between honoring your own pace and still showing up when it feels hard or when you don't feel like it. I talk a lot about like resistance and not forcing your way through resistance, but I'm not talking about, when you're feeling a little bit tired and you have maybe a pocket of time and you're working on something and the energy just isn't there. Sometimes we kind of got to psych ourselves up even when we love the work. There are plenty of times I get on a client call, but I'm not in the mood to get on a client call. I love my clients. I love talking about what I talk about, but sometimes I just don't feel like hopping on a call. I want to continue editing this video, or I want to go for a walk, or I'm feeling a little tired or off that day. But then I get on the call and I'm re-energized again. I feel supercharged. So this piece really comes down to awareness. I just want to make sure that I'm not giving you the message that every time you feel a slight bit of resistance or that discomfort or that feeling of, oh, I don't want to do this right now, that you're just always saying no to yourself. Because the reality is you have to show up for yourself. And sometimes we show up even when it feels hard or even when we don't feel like doing it. When I say, what does it mean to really work in rhythm and honoring your energy? What I'm talking about is really tuning into the ebb and flow of your energy instead of what others are doing online. This is really about, again, the awareness that you have about your own body and how you feel. So some practical ways that this can look is just creating spaciousness in my calendar. For example, leaving space in between calls, not having client calls one after the other because it requires a lot of energy for me to be on a call with somebody. Or even creating content like this where I'm on camera and I'm speaking for 20 minutes or sometimes 30 minutes and I'm going deep into a topic. It requires a lot of energy. So after this, I know that I need some time and spaciousness. I'll probably go for a walk. I'll maybe take a break, have something to drink, and go grab some lunch. I'm not going to be doing another high energy activity right after this because that would leave me completely frazzled and burnt out and probably kind of like irritable at the end of the day. I'm going to feel a little bit off. So I set realistic work hours that work with my energy and also my life, like the practical things about my life. Sometimes I feel that flow of where I could go all day long, but I have to go pick up my kids from school or they've come home from whatever activity they've been out at. So I have to stop the work and that's fine. That's completely fine. But it's just having an awareness of these things that is really important. I also notice how I work best in short focus bursts versus like 8 hours a day. Sometimes I do feel like I can go longer, but most of the time I work best with these creative bursts of energy, and then I need to take some space. I need to have a rest for the rest of the day. This, like I said, creating a podcast is a high energy thing for me, so I'm not really going to have any other high energy activities. Certainly not right after, maybe a little later in the day, but I need to build in spaciousness. And then I have systems that kind of hold it all together for me. So I really rely on simple, sustainable systems and tools that help take care of like repetitive tasks, Things like automated emails, I pre-schedule my content, and I also batch my content so that I can create when I'm in a high energy state or a high creative flow state. And then I have some spaciousness to rest when I need to recharge for the next content batching session. I rely on reusable Canva templates. I keep my home easy to manage so that I have more time for spaciousness in my day. I have more time for the creative work and doing all of the things that I love. I'm still visible, but I'm showing up in a way that protects my time and energy so that I can stay in the creative flow state. And I try to protect that as much as possible, because without my creative ideas, without my energy to be able to express myself creatively in my business, I mean, what else is there? I mean, that's it. I'm the business. So I really try to protect the parts of my business that help me to feel alive and fulfilling. All of the other things I can use ChatGPT for. I can rely on automated systems. I can schedule things out and do all of the things. But when I need to have energy and I need to express myself, I really try to protect that at all costs. I've also learned to recognize that my business moves in seasons, right? There's busier seasons. There's seasons where I need more downtime. There's seasons where I'm in this teaching mode and I'm able to create a lot more content and my words articulate a lot faster. I'm connecting with my audience. And then there are quieter seasons where I'm sitting back and I'm reflecting, or I'm learning more and I'm just simply existing, right? Both are essential. Remember, the pause is what's going to help make the next wave of creativity, that next creative burst, possible for yourself. The other thing that's really important to note here too is you're not going to get it perfect every time. Sometimes you are going to work harder than you have the capacity for, and you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to notice that you've overcomplicated something in your marketing or in your business, and you need to do it simpler next time. So once you start noticing your own rhythm, the next step is bringing it into how you actually run your business day to day. Like, what does this actually look like? So I'm going to give you some gentle shifts that you can do to help you honor your own rhythm. So the first one is to start small. For 1 week, just start to notice when you feel the most focused, when you feel the most social to be engaging with people online, and when you're the most creative. Write it down. You'll start to see patterns. Maybe your best creative work happens in the mornings for you. Maybe you get your best ideas at night. Start to notice when your energy is high and when it starts to slump, and start to think about how you can structure your day to support you so that you're optimizing when you're in a deep creative flow state versus when you just need to be doing some back end admin work or some mindless activities that don't require so much of your energy. These patterns are truly gold. Use them to help you redesign your work week around your energy, not your to-do list, right? Leave 20 minutes between client calls or set a limit on how many client calls you can do in a day. Give yourself the slow morning before you get into the higher energy work later in the day. These pauses in between your day, the spaciousness, it's not wasting time. This is where your best ideas often form. This is where your creativity can recharge and you can revitalize it for the next creative burst to happen. The next one is to really simplify your systems. You don't need 100 automations to make your life easier. Maybe you have a simple client onboarding flow that sends out resources automatically. Maybe it's having a Notion workflow so that all of your ideas have a place to live. Maybe it's having a few branded templates in Canva so that content creation feels simple and calm instead of stressful and overwhelming. Then set some capacity-based goals for yourself. Instead of always pushing yourself to the brink of burnout, ask yourself, what feels doable and spacious for me right now? Your answer is going to change, and that's okay. Flexibility is part of sustainability. Being flexible and being able to ebb and flow with your energy and how your life is structured is all part of you having this business in a way that's going to be successful and sustainable for you. Finally, learn to trust your own pace. Slow doesn't mean stagnant. Sometimes it's in the slowness where your ideas start to deepen, right? Your voice strengthens and you start to find more of the right people. For example, my favorite ways to consume content or to learn is I love listening to a podcast or I love going on YouTube. Like, I do both. And there are a few YouTubers that I subscribe to and they put out incredibly valuable content. I learn something every single time. However, when I watch their content and I'm done, I feel exhausted. They are hyping up their voice in a way that I find hard to listen to, that it makes me almost lose my breath. They speak very quickly. They have a lot of quick edits, a lot of transition changes that are happening really, really fast. And when I'm done the video, I feel like I need to take a breath. And it's not a feeling that feels good. And I get it. They're trying to play the retention on YouTube game because that's a real thing. If you're not able to hold somebody's attention, they're not watching your video, then your YouTube channel is not successful. You're not seeing the growth that you want to see in YouTube. When I create a YouTube video, my content is intentionally slower paced. My voice is slower, and for some, they might find it really boring and click away. And I'm not saying that I can't make improvements. And, I'm always looking at my analytics, trying to think, okay, where are people dropping off? I want to have a successful YouTube channel. So I do need to be improving the way that my video starts to make sure that I am attracting the right people, but also keeping their attention so that they watch the video and I can grow my YouTube channel. And I put a lot of effort into my content. I want people to actually get value out of it, right? I'm not saying that's not important, but I don't focus on trying to be more hypier or more engaging than I am in real life, because that requires a ton of energy. And I've had people come to my channel. You can go there, you can see their comments, and people say, I love your energy. Wow, this video is so calming. I feel so honored when I get a comment like that. I feel like, okay, cool, I've done my job. So there is a market out there for this slower content, right? There is a market out there for people who are doing it differently than like 90% of the people who are trying to keep up at a pace that's unrealistic for most of us, especially if you're highly sensitive. So just remembering, you've got to trust your own pace. If the rhythm feels good for you, trust that there's others out there who are also seeking that rhythm, who want to learn from you over somebody else because you move at a pace that feels safe for their nervous system. Okay, that isn't taxing for them emotionally to watch your content, right? Or to consume your content, whatever that looks like for you. So my point here is that fast doesn't mean better, right? There are lots of examples out there of people who are moving at a slower pace, who are honoring their own natural rhythm, and they're killing it online. They have successful businesses. They're following their own intuition and they're following what feels good for them, and they are doing amazing. So focus your energy on those people. Find people who are doing it the way that you want to be doing it and focus on them. Watch their success and use it as proof that there's someone out there who can do it. So that means that we can do it too. I just want to end this final one with your creativity has its own rhythm too, right? It cannot always be forced. There are times when I'm overflowing with ideas and I'm designing, I'm recording, I'm writing, and it's all coming out with ease. Like it's just spilling out of me. And then there are quieter stretches of time when I need to step away, I need to refill the well, and I just need to live a little in my life before the creativity comes back in that way again, before I'm in that really deep creative flow state. So by honoring those creative cycles, it just makes my work so much more meaningful, and it's helped me just trust the inspiration always returns after I take a pause and when I take a breath. Usually I'm flooded with ideas after I've had a bit of a break and a bit of a pause in my work. When you give yourself permission to move in this way, to follow your own rhythm, something shifts on a deeper level. Remember, your business is an extension of who you are. It's not someone else. You don't have to feel like you need to perform to keep up. You don't need to feel like you need to be posting online all of the time, right? If work is starting to feel like you're trying to perform or trying to keep up with everybody else, then you know something's out of alignment. And pretty soon something is going to break for you. Just remember that your rhythm doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It doesn't have to be linear. It's going to ebb. It's going to flow. You're going to be in like hyper focused creative states, and then you're going to need to ease off and take a little breather. If that's how it looks for you, honor that and know that it's all welcome here, that it's all part of the creative process, right? You don't have to be fast or hyped up or to be online constantly. You just have to show up in a way that feels true for you. And that's what's going to make it sustainable. What would honoring your energy look like for you in your business this week? Where can you create a pocket of space, even just 10 minutes, to just breathe between all of the doing and all of the things? How can you slow the pace to match your natural energy and rhythm and not follow somebody else's? If this episode resonated with you today, please subscribe and leave a comment to tell me what part of today's episode landed with you the most. You can always share your reflections on the show notes at kristabauer.com/podcast or over on Substack, or if you're watching on YouTube, please leave it in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, please leave a quick review on my show because it helps other slow creative entrepreneurs find this space too. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and I will see you again next next week. Thanks for listening to the Slow Creative Podcast. If today's episode resonated, I would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment or a reflection on the show notes at kristabauer.com/podcast, where you can find the latest episode and all of the links and resources mentioned in today's show. And if you know of someone who's craving more slow, intentional support for their business or their creative life, please consider sharing this episode. Until next time, keep listening to your energy, your creativity, and what truly matters.